Second-run theaters show motion pictures for lower prices after feature films leave first-run theaters like AMC, MJR, or Imagine. Families on a budget appreciate being able to see a movie at a historical theater like the Farmington Civic, as their prices are often more affordable. The $4 ticket price attracts retired people, teenagers, youth groups, and families with lots of children, as they can go see a movie with big screen entertainment at an inexpensive price. The historic Farmington Civic Theater is located in downtown Farmington, Michigan. Hey!
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Come on and welcome to the theater.
Thank you. The theater opened in 1940 and annually brings in over 80,000 people to downtown Farmington. So Scott, can you tell us what your position is at the Farmington Civic and how this historical movie house is a great attraction in the city?
Sure, I am the general manager of the Farmington Civic Theater, and that means I'm in charge of the whole operation, and that includes acquiring the movies, exhibiting the movies, making sure the place is clean, and managing all of the employees. And the Civic Theater, I believe, is a great asset to downtown Farmington and the city as a whole, because as an entertainment venue, it necessarily is one of those things that attracts people to a particular area. So I see it as a benefit to all the restaurants and other shops. The more people we can bring into town, the better off everybody else is.
The Farmington Civic Theater offers two theaters. The main floor seats 275 people, while the upper theater seats 132. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of this historical theater?
Yes, it was opened first in 1940, and many people don't realize it was designed by the same architect that designed the Fox Theater in downtown Detroit. His name is C. Howard Crane. We're obviously a much smaller scale, but the same guy designed it, and that's something that people are surprised to hear about, and they think that's kind of neat. The history of it, the Holler family owned and operated the theater for a long, long time, and it went from the father to the son. And then in 1994, the theater was expanded from a single screen facility with a balcony to 2 screens. They had to compete with some of these other places that had 10 screens or 10 theaters within one roof and 20. So they had to figure out a way to compete and show more than one movie. So that was done in 1994, and that was a big undertaking. And then in 1999, the Holler family approached the city of Farmington to purchase the theater, and they agreed to that transaction and refurbished it and reopened it with a nice grand opening in the year 2000, and we've been running ever since.
Oh, that's very interesting. Okay, so the theater has daily showings of second-run movies. Scott, can you explain how you choose which movies are shown at the Farmington Civic?
Well, we are small. We have 2 screens, and some people might look at that as a negative, but I turn it around as a positive, because when we have only 2 screens, we get to choose from a larger group of movies in order to fill our screen. So we get to pick the best of movies that were out a little bit earlier that we get to now show. And there are 2 ways we get movies, second run and what we call move over. Well, second run we get a little bit later, and we're significantly less expensive, so that's a bonus for people. And then the move overs we get a little bit earlier than the second runs. We end up paying a little bit extra to the film companies for those, but we think it's worth it for the momentum that carries through from the theaters. In other words, if a local theater stops showing a move over on a Thursday, we can start showing it on a Friday. Where a second run movie, we might have to wait 2, 3, 4 weeks after a local theater stops showing it until we can get it. So there's 2 different strategies. We always try to get the movies as early as possible.
For the college students who are studying indie film producing and production, can you explain what happens to a finished movie once the filmmaker has sold it to a distribution company?
Any producer of a movie, whether it's a small independent or a large one, will try to shop around the idea and the concept of the movie first, and they need the support and the financing. So once they've passed that, that's a big hurdle that they've overcome. Once the movie's produced, then the film company, which they've attached themselves, tries to promote it as effectively as possible. Once they promote it, they hope that sparks the interest from the public to come and see their movie, and they would love to have thousands and thousands of theaters around the country exhibiting their movie when it's released. That's typically what happens with big companies like Warner Brothers and Sony, and big stars like Tom Cruise and Nicolas Cage and the big superstars. When you have smaller budget movies and independent ones, they're hoping for word of mouth and effective creative solutions for marketing, whether it's social media or just a little buzz created here and there. And they may only open up in 100 theaters around the country. Sometimes it goes directly to DVD, but their goal is to go to the big screen first. And it's tough when you're brand new, but I think a lot of the younger producers and directors have figured out creative ways to get their name out and to be able to get on the screen.
So how do you pick which movies you show at the Farmington Civic?
Well, we get a list every week of what movies are available to us, and that depends on how well those movies have done over the past few weeks. And we sometimes have a week where we have no choices, which means we have to keep what we have. Sometimes we have 5, 6, 7, 8 different choices. And I have to figure out what's the best fit for us, since we only have 2 screens and we're generally known as more of a family-oriented theater. So I don't have too many R-rated movies, and if I do have one, I don't want to have 2. So I might have 6 or 7 choices, but 6 of them are R-rated and the 7th is a bomb. It's no good. Only 12 people have seen it. So I might also have a choice where I've got 4 blockbusters to choose from, but I only have 2 screens. So I might actually show 4 movies at once in the theater and rotate 2 on one screen and rotate 2 on the other screen and try to be a little bit creative. I might then show kids movies more in the earlier afternoons, and maybe the R-rated movies I would never show in the afternoon. So you kind of figure out what your audience is, what your history of the theater has been, and what people, basically voting by attending in the past, what they want to see, and pick what you think will be the best fit for them.
What are popular movie genres here in Farmington?
Well, for us at the Farmington Civic Theater, I think the top ones are family-oriented and action suspense type of movies. We've tried some of the horror flicks, and typically you've got a decent audience for those, but it doesn't work at our theater. I've tried probably 4 or 5 times some big-name horror flicks, and many of them are part 1, part 2, part 3, where they've had a good audience in the past, but they flop. So I've learned my lesson, and I don't show those anymore, even though there's a handful of people that would like to see them. I can't bring in a movie that will only bring in 10 or 20 people. I'm looking for a lot more than that. So we stick to the proven formulas of family, action, suspense. Those are our big ones.
How does the film get paid for?
Well, we receive the movies on film still. We will be converting to digital fairly shortly, but the process will be the same. We receive the film, and the film company gets it to us physically. We do not pay anything up front for the movie, yet we pay a portion of each ticket back to the film company. And that percentage of the ticket price that goes to the film company for us ranges anywhere from 30% on the low end to the highest that I've ever paid is 55%. Now, the first-run theaters will pay a lot more than that for the brand new movies, and it typically will scale down. It may start off at 55% for us, and then week number 2 it might go down to 40% and then 35% as it stays longer at the theater. But that's the way it works. We don't pay anything up front, we pay for every ticket that's sold.
How do you market the films that you do end up showing here?
Well, that's a good question, because we try to get the word out any way that we can, and money plays a big factor in that. We don't have $1 million budget to advertise and promote, so we use Facebook quite a bit, and that's been very effective for us. We have movie posters that the movie companies send us, or we request, and we put them up outside the theater and in the lobby. And word of mouth and press releases. If we find some specific event that we can tie into for a particular movie, we'll send out a press release, and we hope that the newspapers or online news services will print or publish those as well. And we also have our on-screen advertising that we try to use as much as possible to help promote future movies.
So thank you, Mr. Scott Freeman, today for helping educate us on the Farmington Civic and the history and how you choose movies and how you market them and everything. It was very interesting, and I enjoyed it a lot. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Yes, thanks for having us.
The history of it is the Fuller family owned and then in 1994.
We would like to thank Scott for sharing the behind the scenes of how a movie is promoted after it is sold to a distribution company. I am Marielle Hill.